So there's a preview release of this game which I've tried out, and I wanted to give my initial impressions. Obviously I know this is far too late from when it first happened, being in 2022, but anyway, my opinion. Well, what can I say? At this point I'm very impressed. Let me break down what I liked about this game. In terms of the game, it basically boils down to it being a retro game in looks and gameplay. More specifically, what makes it a good game in my opinion is that it borrows from classic shooters, particularly from 90s FPS shooters, and adds a few twists and innovations on top, taking the gameplay further in my opinion. It could be argued that the gameplay is basically copying classic FPS shooters of the 90s, which has become a trend in recent years, which a lot of retro games released have done. Not to say that's a bad thing. I don't believe this to be just mere nostalgia. There are specific game mechanics and level design ideas from that era that helped, which created fun games, and this game can be seen as another example of heavily borrowing from that era of game design. Let's talk about level design. Level design is varied in terms of design and setting. It seems to work like this. They have a flow to them leading from one area to another without the need for arrows or highlighted objects. This is in my opinion a testament to good level design. Directions seemed intuitive, as well as having large enemy encounters placed at the right time. Level design adds a degree of exploration which is needed for finding keys, extra ammo, health, and sometimes secrets. Even so, the level design retains a flow to them, leading you from one area to another, keeping a nice pace to the action. The guns themselves are nothing new. It's your usual set: pistol, shotgun, chain gun, missile launcher, etc. Nothing new there, but they have taken the weapons a step further by adding a secondary fire mode. Yes, this is a more powerful secondary mode, but you have to wait a few seconds for it to power up, such as with the shotgun powering up, or giving the chain gun a moment to spin up. It's the way it functions in the context of various enemy encounters that encourages skills such as timing and position with enemies, which expands the gameplay in my opinion. For example, this can leave you exposed, so timing and position becomes important, so you have to consider this when employing it further, expanding the gameplay experience. Enemies are varied with different types of movement and attack modes. As you progress, you encounter new enemy types, which further helps add variation to the enemy types and the gameplay. At any time there can be various combinations of enemy types in an encounter. A combination of different enemies and their attack patterns means each encounter varies and never feels the same and all too repetitive. This is a game design that you see in classic FPS games such as Doom, where the trick here is you're prioritizing which enemy you're going to attack first within different group variations, in the context of different levels, which creates a lot of variation within the gameplay. Resource management. You can't just go around shooting with your best gun. You have to think about what gun you're going to use and when and against what enemy. Sometimes ammunition for a certain gun is limited, plus a secondary mode can use more ammo, so are you going to go out of your way to search for more ammo? So you have to think carefully. Again, this adds another layer to the gameplay. Again, what makes this game enjoyable and fun is the combination of elements which are combined together and which you are managing or juggling at any given time. Classic 90s shooters, which this game is somewhat of a homage to, are about resource management, position, timing, enemy priority, etc. As much as they are about straight up action and shooting. Ultimately, this is another of many games that borrows from that era of gaming. I must say there have been a lot of them lately, but at the end of the day this is another testament to the effective game design of that era that worked, and I don't mind having more of that. What I hope, if this game ends up being a success, is that it will inspire evolving gameplay, and not merely copying, but to use this as a basis to develop and evolve solid gameplay mechanics.